Hey everyone, this is Larry at LC Model Shipbuilding. So this episode we finish up a deck. We get our deck chairs on. Now granted, by the end of the video they're not all on, but I am opting to do all 500 deck chairs, so there's a lot of deck chairs. But in any case, we get all of the lighting basically wired up and finished up for a deck. Get the final details down on that. We get the actual deck houses glued down onto the deck. And yeah, this is basically the last big piece before we move into the boat deck. So really excited about where we're at and excited about the progress. I know the video might go a bit long. I apologize. There was a ton of content here. So anyway, without further ado, thank you very much for watching, and let's get started. Okay, so I got all of the windows done on this section of the hull, or not the hull, but the structure here, and I'm pretty happy with them. They look good. And our next step is going to be just putting the windows on here, which is fairly easy. That's the passageway in between the two sections. And I think after that it will be time to just glue down the deck, or the buildings to the deck. Well, no, actually not. I gotta drill holes for lighting along here, so we're gonna do that, and then we'll get ready to glue it onto the deck. Now this, I'm going to use a combination of nanos, which nanos will pretty much run along here, back here, and then up here is going to be the strip lighting that came with the kit. So I'll show how I do all that, and yeah, we'll kind of go from there. And then after we get the deck glued down, we will go into our deck chairs. So here is our deck chairs. They are painted up. Once I get them off, I may have to spray the back. I don't know yet until I actually get them off. I kind of sprayed through down here too, so I'm hoping that I pretty much got everything, but we will see. So these are done by Cameron's Model Works. Kind of trying to get it in there so you can kind of see the detail on them. I will show them a little bit better though once it comes time to go ahead and put them on. So there's that. So they come like that, and then they also come folded. So these are folded ones right here, and you can see how many there are there. So I got enough of these to do basically all of the chairs throughout the entire A deck and the upper deck. So anyway, let me go ahead and get these windows done on here, and then I will be back and we'll start our lighting. Okay, so I went ahead and put the railings on. I don't know if that was a good move or not, because I still got to do all the lighting, but I'm just going to have to be very careful with it. They turned out awesome. I mean, like, doing the straight one right there was a little tough. All the smaller ones were not too bad, but they definitely have a little bit of a challenge to them, just making sure that you get them on straight and you don't get glue in between the rungs and all that stuff. So I like them. I think they make a really cool detail on the kit. So sorry, I know that's going too fast to focus real well, but just kind of showing them. So there you go. But alright, what we're going to do now is I'm going to clear all this stuff away, and we're going to flip this upside down and start doing our lighting. Okay, before I go on to wiring, I forgot about these, so I went ahead and got them done too. Now, it does skip a couple spots here and there on there, and that's by the directions, so it is what it is. But there they are. Okay, so as you can see here, I got these lights all pretty much run, and what we're going to do is there's going to be two different spots where I bring power feed up. So we're going to have the one back here, obviously, in the smoking lounge and all that, And then we're going to have another one in here, and that's where all of these wires are going to end up getting accumulated to, is in that little room here where the funnel would be. So I'll be able to basically run a hole down through, and that will bring me my feed line for power. And I'm going to drill through anyhow because I need a hole for the hose that's going to come up for the funnel for smoke. And then the same thing really back here in the other one, which is where the third funnel would be. So that's what that looks like, and I already have my feed line for the smoking lounge back there. So that's pretty much where we're at. I'm going to get this all soldered up, and then it'll be time to glue that down. Now, one other thing we have to do before we get into that is the strip lighting. So basically, I'm going to run 2 strips, and what's cool about this, you can cut it to whatever length you need it to be, and then you just solder onto it, which I didn't show in the previous video. But I'm going to run it right along the grand staircase area here, all the way up, and then I'll I'm going to have to run some other ones in here for the lights for the rooms, but that's okay. It won't be a big deal there. So we're going to cut right here, and then I'm going to take another piece of the same length for the other side, and then we'll run a jumper wire across between the two. And then I'm still gonna have to drill the holes out for here, which I didn't even notice that until now, but that's okay. Better now than later. So this stuff has an adhesive backing on it, which is all fine and dandy, but I don't trust it, so I'll put it on and then I'll glue it in addition, just to make sure it stays. Okay. And I don't want to actually glue the lights themselves. I will glue, well, I'll kind of show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to just hit along the edges. Not the whole thing either. Just something to kind of give it a little bit of extra grip, just in case. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing with the other side here, and then I'll drill these holes out, put nanos down in them, and then we'll start doing some soldering. Now the kit does have a lighting provision hole right here, which I can actually use for the for the wires to go up to the officer's cabin, which will be good. So yeah, let me just put some glue on here, and then I'm going to pause and work on doing those lights for the front. Okay. All right, I will be back. Okay, so I was at the store today, a train store, model train store, and picked up some Woodland Scenics wire, which 50 feet should be well more than I need for this, but I needed something that was going to be fairly thin gauged. So I got that, and while I was there, I was talking to the guy, and he kind of showed me these little plug extensions, which I think are going to really kind of help me out with what I had going on. Yeah, so these will be able to plug into each other. So basically what my plan is, I will run one from the deck, or from one deck to the next, and then it will simply plug in to the cable. Now these, I'm trying to figure out how these actually work. I thought these were going to connect together. It does not appear that they do. Oh, wait. Okay, so it has that. Ah, I see. Okay, so this does work. These come off, and then this plugs together. And that's what I'm mostly interested in. Okay, cool. So now from deck to deck, I can have a plug that's going to be down on the lower half and then go up to power supply. So this will be highly beneficial because I can run these underneath, and then if I need to separate the deck, there we go. So this part of it I don't really need. I guess that's just like a union joint, but can't really see me having a need for that. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and get our points together for this. And like I said, we're going to drill the hole down right behind the grand staircase where the second funnel would be, and that's going to get the power up to here from down below, because this is going to connect down underneath B deck, but it's going to connect to the power supply from B deck. So later in the video, as we go here, I will have B deck and A deck all together, and you'll kind of understand where I'm going with this. So in the meantime, I'm going to get the soldering iron warmed up, and we're going to start soldering together all of these wires to get them, to get them ready for what we're doing. Okay, so it occurred to me in the last video, I didn't really show how I address like wiring and keeping it kind of neat, because obviously it's going to get a little messy with how long these wires are, and I don't really plan on resoldering all of the fusible links. That's why I generally buy these, where you have to, not fusible links, but resistors, where you generally have to solder your own resistors on. But I got the other ones that I was using for this, so it is what it is. They're just going to be a little bit messier, and I'll just kind of have to separate them and clean them up. But I didn't show what I generally do in the last video, so what we're going to end up doing, this wire is going to be coming up from the lower deck, and then once I kind of get everything established, I'm just going to simply take a zip tie and zip tie it around in here. And then that's going to kind of keep this neat. And I'll also be able to, you know, kind of bush up or bundle up what I need to bundle up. Now I have three branches coming off right here right now. One's going to be for this, one is going to be for this hallway, and the other is going to be for the reading and writing room back here. So that's what that looks like. Now the light strips, they are going to require a resistor, and I don't need it to be as long as it is. So I had already cut these wires to use for a previous project, but they'll work for what I'm doing here too. So what we're going to do is cut that as I did, and then I'm going to put my resistor onto here. And I got to make a decision real quick if I'm going to start from this end or this end, because it probably honestly would make more sense to go this way. And I do need to make one more truncation to come over and to go up to here for the officers' quarters. So I'm thinking I'm going to be better going up through the funnel, actually, because that's the hole for the funnel tubing. And yeah, it just seems to kind of make a little bit more sense for what we're doing here. I just want to make sure the plug fits through, which it should. Yeah, it'll fit through without a problem. I mean, I can always unplug it, obviously, but all right, so we're going to go ahead and solder our resistor on, and then I need another piece of wire that's actually going to go to the light strip. Well, that's neat. Pulled the whole thing out. Okay. So I need one side to be really, really small, which is going to be this one, because that's going to be where we solder there. And one side to be, you know, a little bit longer to go around the resistor. And then we'll heat shrink that and, well, solder it and then heat shrink it, and we'll be good to go. So let me get that squared away, and I'll be right back, because I got to go get some heat shrink, and before I solder this, I want to heat shrink this up too. So I got to do some soldering and add a piece of wire in here. So be right back. Okay, so basically what we're going to do now, I got my two jumper wires coming off to go over here, and they're going to go up into the deck up here. Now, the one thing about those, I am going to have to make a second jumper wire up top here, because we have those forward cabins that we have to do. So that's okay. Now, this, you can see I already got one cut kind of the length I want, and I'm going to go ahead and solder it on, and it doesn't matter really what side it goes on to. So we're going to go on this side here, and basically we're just going to solder that point on, and then we'll do the same thing with the other one, but I'm going to do it on the other side, and that is just because I want them to be separated. I don't like how close I got that, so actually that's not touching. Okay. And this one I already heat shrinked the resistor in, so we're pretty much ready to go. and it's real important that you get positive with positive, negative with negative, or it won't work. I'm trying to kind of put it back here towards the back, only because I don't want to see red through the windows necessarily. And I could even end up putting a small piece of styrene in here, just as a blocker, which I may do, because otherwise you do run the risk of seeing the wiring through the windows, and that happened quite a bit on my Queen Mary build. That was the first one that I really went after wiring extensively, so I learned a lot of lessons from that one. Okay, so there we go. That is on and solid. Now we can do a quick little test just to make sure it's running. Let me get my wire here. And I want to make sure I don't have anything touching positive to negative, but I seem to be okay. Okay, so gray is positive. Huh. Well, no dice. Oh, I know why. That's after. This is before. Which means negative that side. Okay. Well, now that's kind of weird. Let me make sure it's plugged in. That could be a problem. All right, let me check that out, and I'll be back. Okay, so that was kind of dumb. I forgot to do the jumper wire from one side to the other, so there was no problem at all. But there we go, we're lit up. So can't really see it with how much light I have in here. Let me see. I guess I can turn it off. So there we go. They're about the shade that I want, so that'll be perfect. And they are lighting up the grand staircase area nicely, so yeah, good, happy. So now I'm going to start soldering up all of the smaller ones here and routing them, and then it'll be time to glue some decking down. Or the building down to the deck, that's what I mean. Okay, so what we're going to do here, because when I put the deck over top of it on the second class, or the first class smoking lounge, I definitely had light bleed going on. So this is going to work twofold. It's going to help me get the wires routed, and it's going to kill the light bleed. So this is our aluminum tape, and what I'm going to do is lay my wires out how I want them to go, and then I'm going to over tape it. And I'm going to do this in smaller sections. I was going to do it in one big strip, and I might cover it all in one big strip, but to get it at least set, I'm going to do it in the small ones first. yeah, that's my plan. And I'll do the same thing over the reading and writing room and over the first class lounge. So this will definitely stop the light bleed, and it will make my wires route much nicer. So I didn't get as pretty as this on the last video, and I'm going to go back and neaten up some of that. I'm actually kind of embarrassed that I published it, but whatever. I gave you a ugly way to do it, I guess you'd say. But the reality is you're still going to end up looking like spaghetti in a lot of cases as you go with this. It is just the reality of doing lighting. Now, I'm actually starting to think that I want to run that down here rather than back here, which is fine. I'm just going to have to route these wires over a grand staircase and into there. So let me think about how I'm going to do that a minute, because I did just change up my plan slightly. It'll still work. I just got to figure out how I want to do it, because I can't take this thick wire here in between the deck, and I can't go under it because that is the grand staircase on the next level down too. So let me figure this out, and I'll be back with my conclusion. Okay, so I found my solution in what I'm going to do. I already did it actually. Soldered wires on to extend me basically up into here, and then I glued the wires above the windows so you can't see them when you're looking that way. So that will work, no issue, and I feel pretty good about that. So now I can continue on what I was doing and get these wires routed to actually come down through here, and that's going to make life just a little bit easier. So not a difficult task, and I thought it was going to be worse than what it was, so I'll take it. And I was also worried about the length of the wire not being long enough on these, so this actually helped a lot of things. So it will end up being well worth it. So we're going to bring that guy over here. And then our final one right down to the side. So let me go ahead and I'm going to pause it, and we'll get these wired up, and then we'll test them out. I might do these three too while I'm at it before I come back, but those are going to be a simple shoot right over here, so that should make it even easier. But yeah, let me pause it and I'll be back. Okay, so now you can see what we got done here. Now that's our power line. Obviously it will go down the deck. This here, we have two lines coming off, and what needs to be done with these is the private promenade, which will go underneath the deck. The lighting for that needs to connect onto these. So before we glue down, obviously we're going to have to wire that all up, and God, these were probably back about 10 videos. I still got to paint these up and get them ready to put on, but there they are all ready to go. So that is the aft, and then these are private promenade right here. So each of them has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights in it, and we're going to basically just use our nanos and stick them right there. So that's pretty much how that'll work. But I got to paint these up before we do that, and I got to finish wiring up the lighting here for the first class lounge. So we'll do that, and then I'll start painting them and get them wired, and then we should be able to actually glue down some deck. But hopefully you can see, I mean, obviously I went a whole lot neater with the wiring work than I did on the other section that I posted for part 1 of this series, or not series, but video. I just wanted to get a better look to it. So what we'll do next is I'll end up putting some of this over over top, just to help keep away any final light bleed that we might have going on, and to hold the wires down a little bit better. So I'll get that done after I go ahead and do this section. So moving right along here, and yeah, everything's good. That it's not too it's not sticking out too far that it won't come down on top of the deck, which is good also. So yeah, I do want to kind of look at it without the light on a minute, just make sure we're getting enough lighting output. Yeah, that's not bad. So I'm feeling pretty good with that. These could be a little brighter up here. Now, the way that I could do that, if I want to brighten them up, is basically unsolder this, put another junction down here, and make it 2 lights. But they are really about the same brightness as the nanos, so I don't want to go too bright, really. I think we'll be all right. So anyway, I'm going to work on getting this wired up and connected, and then up here. So be back. Okay, so realized something else as I started to wire this all out. If I bring this up here, I'm going to be right in the captain's quarters, so that's not going to work because I have the photo etch to do all of the rooms for the crew along here. So my next thought is using this one right here, which actually will work okay because I'm going to need to cut out where I put the provision for these zip ties anyhow, right in between there. So that is my new plan. But I also want to be careful not to go too far forward, because we're getting into the wheelhouse at that point, and that actually is part of the build. So what I'm going to do is basically cut all down here and down, and then this center section is where we're going to end up having a very similar setup to down here, where we're going to keep all of our wiring together, because we're going to have the lighting for this, and then we're going to have all of the lighting that goes underneath here along the bottom of the deck. So there's going to be a lot of a lot of different sets of resistors that we're going to have to kind of mask and hide. So that's going to make life more interesting and fun. Now, the good thing is I have this section here that I can use, and there's a easy access hole right there, and I'm going to need a hole anyhow to get up to the funnel for the venting, so we'll be able to use that, but I can't use this because this is the gymnasium, and the gymnasium has photo etch too. So it's all going to have to fit in here, and basically this little strip in here. So it's kind of a lot when it comes down to it. I mean, we'll make it work. It's just more of a matter right now of looking at it, studying it, and figuring out how the heck I'm going to make it work. Because the other factor that I got to remember is I need a mounting point at some point, because basically A deck is going to lift off with B deck. So I need a way to mount B deck down. A deck onto B deck won't be that hard because I can essentially run a nut and a bolt through multiple points on here and then just tighten it on both ends. That's my initial thoughts right now, but I got to do a little bit of thinking here on how I'm going to tackle this. So nothing major, but definitely needs to be thought out very, very well as I'm going, so that everything's, one, accessible, but two, you can't really tell anything's done to it. So anyway, we're going to finish up wiring up that. I know I said that a couple minutes ago, but when I found this, I figured I better kind of talk about it a minute and get it ready. So this I'm less worried about. It really isn't that big of a deal, but getting the decks all bolted down are going to be a little bit more of a challenge than I initially had thought, but we'll get through it. So let me pause it, finish wiring this up. I do want to get my boathouses down, not boathouses, but my buildings down to the deck. So that is the goal of this video still. And I want to get all of our chairs on here done. So this essentially, actually this can come on here now. I'm not going to actually glue it now, but we're to a point where it makes sense to do this. And start to kind of figure out how that's going to go. So yeah, because my wiring for this is all going to be back here. If I can come up with a way to make the boat deck bolt down, I don't know. I gotta think. But anyway, let me continue rolling on. I still gotta, like I said, do the I-beams underneath here too yet. So we're gonna get that buttoned up. But yeah, onward. Okay, so I went ahead and made my cuts here. I did figure out that B deck I'm going to end up doing as a magnetic just basically it will magnetically attach. What I'm going to do up here, basically this will get glued down straight solid, but then the problem is getting to B deck is going to be a challenge. So I'm going to drill 2 holes in here and through here, and then there is going to be screw sets down on B deck that will attach that deck to here. So that might not all make sense without showing it in the video, but I will show it when it comes time to do it. But I at least have my plan now, and it's not going to be as difficult as I thought it was going to be. So a little bit less worried now at this point. Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and relocate this over and get these up, because they're going to come up through here. I will have to put a new piece down, but yeah, much less worried now than what I was a little while ago. So good. So we're going to go ahead and fix that, and then it will be time to actually probably go ahead and screw these holes, because we're getting very close to the point of gluing this down and then gluing our back down. Now, I do want to go back through and clean up the wiring on the second class smoking lounge, because the difference is quite noticeable. That's what we currently have in this build, and that's what we had from the last build, or the last episode. So we're going to clean this one up and make it look a little bit better and neater. So going to do that, and then we should be able to put some deck chairs down. So be back shortly. Okay, so before I go too crazy on putting the lower I-beams down on here, I want to kind of walk through what I'm going to do to mount the B deck floor, I'm sorry, the A deck floor to the B deck. So what I'm planning on doing is using these, which are threaded on that end, and I'm going to go ahead and screw them through, because you can see they have threads on the bottom, and then there's going to be a nut on there, and basically there's going to be probably 2 mounting points forward. There's going to be one probably in the center, and then there'll probably be one back here by the funnel, where that goes. And that is my plan basically to mount this. So I'm going to go ahead and get those holes drilled right now, and we will see how this works. So more to come. Okay, so this is going to work. The B deck is now connected to the A deck and fits right into place. And I'm going to have to cut a small hole up here to access my screws, but basically I just have to unscrew these 2 screws, this screw, and then this deck will come off. So this is going to be perfect. And then with where I have the buildings, not the buildings, but the structures, they're going to be perfectly fine. So no real issue there. And then final deck laydown, I'm going to try to do magnetically, I think. So I'm still working out that part, but more to come. Okay, so in order to do this, I have determined that I need to make yet another small adjustment. This second class staircase. Okay, so here we are, finally doing the lighting here on the back end. So I am going to have another one come up and join. This will be connected down on the lower deck, and it will have the plug in it. So all of the main power will come off of one main circuit. Actually, maybe 2, because I'm going to have a, I don't know if I showed it, but basically a fuse breaker in the hall. And well, I was going to show that quick, but I'll show that in the next clip. I'm going to explain what I'm doing real quick. And basically I have 3 coming off of here again, kind of like we did, and I'll end up mounting it down. I haven't gotten that far yet, obviously, but there's my positives. They'll all connect to one of these, and then I pre-made sets of 4 and 5. So I need 4 for the inside promenade, which is pretty much directly below this, roughly. A little bit farther up. It's up here, actually. But the wires hopefully will reach there, and if they don't, I can still add them in back here because I still have another power offshoot. So we'll see real quick if that will reach. Ooh, it's going to be tight. The farthest one is about there, so I may have to run my power back here, which not a big deal. In that case, this one of these will then power the Cafe Parisien, and that will fit because that's right here. That one has a ton of lights to it, so let's paint it up now and ready to install. But there are all of those light holes there, so I probably won't do all whatever there is. I'll probably stagger them, like one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, and so on and so forth. But that's a lot of lighting that would go in there. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and do that. And then in the next clip, I will show that fuse panel I'm talking about, because that's going to be the fuse panel that does the lights. There will be one to do the smoke unit. There will be a fuse to do the sound unit. And there will be a fuse to power the servo and the RC functions of it and all that good stuff. So let me go ahead and get these connected and start figuring out if I'm going to do Private Promenade first, or if I'm going to go up here, I'm sorry, Cafe Parisien, or go up here and do Private Promenade. So I'll be back. Okay, so this one's pretty much ready to go down. I didn't really have much of a choice on redoing much of the wiring. I tried to do some of it, but I was going to do more damage than good, so it is what it is. But we do have our ceiling wired up. I got a little spot of touch-up paint to do, but yeah, all the wires are in and we're pretty much ready to go on that end. So next up, we're going to put our walls up here and plant our wiring for the whole front section, and then basically it'll be time to start putting some deck chairs on and whatnot. I am going to go ahead and do the remaining the Private Promenade lighting and the two other small sections, so I'm going to get them done quick, and then we'll be back. Okay, so we're at the point now that we're going to pretty much close it up. All of the I-beams are done and down and wired, and they all light up, so that's all ready to go. And pretty much, yeah, it's pretty well squared away. We're going to close this up finally once and for all, and then we'll start putting the deck chairs down. Oh, one thing I didn't point out earlier, these lights back here are for the cargo cranes, and they are connected to the promenade lights down here. So just an FYI, I didn't really mention them earlier, but need them later, so I left the wire a little bit long. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue this down, and yeah, we're gonna be able to move on to the next level. Okay, so here we go. You can kind of see what's going on with the lighting. We got the forward cabins lit up. Obviously the wall is not up on here yet. You can see all the B deck cabins. I got to add people in there yet, but we'll get there. There's the what do you call it, reading writing room, and the Private Promenade. Still got some rooms down here that I got to put the furniture in. Not a big deal. And then back here we have our dining room, and obviously that's not mounted down right now, but that's okay. And we'll put some people in there, and we'll put some people along the back here. So that's kind of where we're at now. We're going to go ahead and put our deck chairs out here on the deck, but definitely getting the effect that I want. So just wanted to kind of show where we're at. Okay, before I go ahead and start putting the chairs down, the deck chairs, I want to fill in this because I'm going to use actual post. And what we're going to do, first we're just going to take a little bit of, I'm using Vallejo Sand Beige, and we're going to just kind of go right along that line to get the black kind of taken care of so it is less noticeable. And then I'm going to take a small piece of scrap material from the scaled decks and just basically glue it in there. So we're not getting real good coverage. There we go, that's better. I might not have shaken this well enough, and it's also an airbrush already thinned down paint, so it's taking a little bit more to cover. But once the piece of wood is there, it should be fine. I'll do the other side quick. And then there's one more up in front of the corridor going down from the grand staircase, so I'll get that off camera. But this area gets a lot of benches, not benches, but deck chairs, so I want to address this before I move on to the actual planting of these chairs. So I just realized that might not be in camera sight, but it's nothing real exciting. Okay, so I'm going to do the other one quick and then we'll be back. Okay, so these deck chairs, these are done by Cameron's Model Works, and I'm using Art Braunschweiger's photos that he posted to basically set my chairs. Now, I got quite a few sets, and I got more over on the other table here, but I don't know if I have enough to do all 584 or 74, whatever it was. But these are quite detailed when it comes down to it. I'm really happy with them. Obviously they're 3D printed, so you save the time in folding and gluing the sides, but you can see all the details are there. And I'm going to paint the seating spot like a tan, because that was more of a wicker from what I remember. But the good thing is I sprayed them on the sprue and basically got coverage on all sides. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. These are extremely delicate, so they're going to be a challenge to put on. But I'm going to do my best to get as many along here as possible. Now the other thing is, so I can kind of cheat a little bit, there's a lot of pictures of the deck chairs folded up, and right here is all folded deck chairs that you can kind of put along the walls. Also, there's many pictures of Olympic like that, so they didn't always have the deck chairs out and about when it was, you know, different times. So I think I can get away with both ways, and that's going to help with the amount of deck chairs that I need, because that's a ton of deck chairs when it comes down to it, and this is going to be really time consuming, but I think the detail is going to be well worth it. So gonna get started. I will probably do along here and here and then end the video just so I can get it done, because you're not really going to see anything else aside from me putting deck chairs down. So we'll be back after we get some of them set. And oh yeah, I generally am really big with 3D print stuff on using a heat knife or a hot knife, whatever you want to call it. These being as delicate and small as they are, I actually found that my my nippers were working quite well on that. Don't do it by hand, but if you do it with the nippers, which I can't seem to find right now, it makes it a whole lot easier. So let me find them, and then I'll show you me taking them. Okay, here we go. So all I'm doing is coming down on the bottom, right along there, cutting, and then literally all the support pieces have come off for the most part that I need to have come off, and I'm left with the chair pretty much almost ready to glue. The only thing I have to cut yet, the supports on the back tend to stay on, so get those cut and giddy up. We've got a chair ready to go. So I'm going to start gluing, and we'll be back. Okay, the final step in this is going to be just doing a little bit of dry brushing over the base of the chairs. These chairs would have had a wicker bottom, so you can see I did some of them already, but I'm just basically going to lightly brush a little bit on here, and then after that dries, I'll go back over it with some mahogany just to kind of get that look that I'm looking for on it. So only the base of the chair, basically where you sit, would have been the wicker. The rest of it was teak wood. So there we go. I've gotten into some discussion already with some of the pictures I shared, so this would be about the accurate number of chairs that Titanic had. And granted, it may look cluttered. You got to remember there'd be 2,500 passengers on the ship. Not 2,500, I'm sorry. There'd be, well, I think it did have capacity for 2,500. It just wasn't filled to capacity for the maiden voyage. But with only 500 chairs, that really isn't that many compared to passengers. So it kind of stands to reason. Now, granted, they might not have all been out, but they do say that when Titanic arrived in Cherbourg, all 600 of them were out, and 18 were folded against the wall. So that's kind of where I'm at, but I don't know. I think they look good. There's still plenty of room in the promenade space for people to walk, and we'll add some people before we start the boat deck, but next video will be the boat deck beginning. I'm really excited about that because that is a really big next milestone in this build, and at that point we're going to start getting into a lot more of the China 3D parts that I have, a lot more parts of the ship that I would say are noticeable to a typical person looking at it. So in any case, that's kind of where we're at. So I want to thank everybody for watching. I know this video might have gone long, but I think there's a lot of content here, and tried to kind of rectify some of the things that I did in previous videos from the electrical standpoint. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. Please give a like and subscribe, and we're going to keep rolling here as we get closer to getting this build out onto the lake and getting it motorized. So thank you again.